Hello and welcome to another episode of the Culture Hour. My name is Shelley Smith, your hostess and founder and CEO of Premier Rapport, where everything is workplace culture related. So today continues our feature of the different executives, owners, CEOs that have piped in on my Forbes article and talking about workplace culture, leaning in, training and development, especially during a crisis. And so today it is a pleasure that I get to introduce you to now just your name, because I'm so paranoid about saying names like Florian Klaus. Is that correct or not? You can
That's
correct
correct.
me. You can correct
No,
me.
that's perfect, Shelley.
Florian
Florian
Klaus.
Klaus.
All
Mhm.
right, all right. Florian actually is specifically now, he's actually the head of the International Business Development for Press Relations. And I'm going to let him actually unpack what press relations, you can probably imagine what they do, but to unpack that a little bit. And so he was actually with them, left, came back, and now again is head of International Business Development. You weighed in on the article, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But why don't you first tell us a little bit more about press relations, and then also a little bit more about yourself and kind of how you got there and what your focus is. And then I want to dive into the agile work environment that just under a couple of hundred employees around that you guys have now. And I want to talk about how that works. But first, you and press
Mhm.
relations.
Yeah, thank you, Shelley. We are press relations. We are specialists for media monitoring and media analysis. We have been founded in 2001, and we're one of the first companies who tried to be completely digital. That means we didn't work with newspapers in a physical way, but we tried to do everything completely digital. And we started with press reviews and also with the distribution of press releases. But quickly we added new media sources like Twitter and YouTube in 2007 and 8, I think, to the monitoring. And over the years, we became a specialist in full media analysis.
And you're
And
literally all over the world, correct?
right, we have connections all over the world. We work with different companies all over the world to make sure that we have a coverage from every corner of the world and get all the newspapers we need. Yeah, we're starting to spread over the world now. So our latest office has been opened in Texas. So yeah, and it's very interesting to work for press relations now and to go with them on that way on international business.
Well, obviously they have learned innovation and innovation on the pivot, as one of my friends and colleagues, Dr. Sarah Spradling, talk about, that in this new world, certainly the old print is not the new way of getting any information. It is on the digital side. Anything else about you before we kind of get into today's discussion?
A few words about me. I studied information management and joined press relations in 2007. Back then, I was responsible mainly for social media analysis and social media monitoring. Then I left press relations in 2015, came back in 2019 as head of international business development. So, yeah.
Fair enough. So is the team all virtual before COVID and obviously now during COVID, but is it a virtual team to begin with, or did you guys have an office that everybody kind of came into?
No, we have an office. Our main site is in Düsseldorf here in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
This is also where I live and where I usually work. But we also have a big office in Berlin and smaller offices in Hamburg, for example, and also an office in Texas now. And we have, as I already said, we have a lot of connections to other companies through company networks and also direct connections to different companies to make sure that we exchange media information and exchange the access to relevant media worldwide. So, yeah, but we also we try to be a digital company because we have offices in Bulgaria and as I said, we have 3 different offices in Germany. So it's necessary for us that we have ways to communicate online and to work online. And I think when the crisis started, I don't know whether we are already at that point, but when the crisis started, we felt actually very well prepared for that because this is how we
It's how you would
always
normally
work.
operate. has there been any learning? So let's shift into the conversation. So you've got on your website, when I was doing some research, that you are an agile workforce culture structure, an actual structure that is agile. Talk to us a little bit more about that and how that has aided you during this crisis time.
Okay, yeah. We always tried to put the employee in the middle. So of course, it's very important that the company itself um, is healthy. This is crucial to make sure that everyone is able to keep the jobs, of course. But it's not that a profit is the most important thing for us. So we want that our employees are happy and that they stay with us and that they feel motivated and encouraged to bring the company further. So to we don't, yeah, we how do I explain it?
I was going to say, what are some specific things that you have done differently over the last 90 days from a workplace culture standpoint to strengthen it, or additional spending on leadership and development?
During the last 90 days, yeah, I mean, of course, it was necessary to do some more training and to have more meetings with our employees, and also to enhance our software so we are able to work together properly and to communicate in a proper way. I think that the spendings for our personnel, it's not that much because we were already there. Actually, I think we spent 2% more or so. It was not that much.
Have you
But
shifted what you were doing before versus now, though?
actually, not that much. I mean, of course, it was a challenge because everyone was working from home now, and in the past, this was just an option. So most of our employees went to the office, and maybe 10 to 15% work from home. This is always an option, so we didn't really have to apply for that or so. You have to choose whether it's possible or not. Of course, we have a lot of meetings because we try to be a very agile company. So of course we use all the Scrum artifacts, so like daily Scrum, daily stand-up meetings, and retrospectives, and so on. So of course we encourage people to come to the office to do these meetings, but it was a bit of a challenge to do this in a virtual room. So for example, when it comes to retrospectives, where people are supposed to write their thoughts and their feelings on cards and to put it on the wall and so on, so we had to find new software tools that help us with that. So this was a bit of a challenge first, but we quickly found software that exactly did what we needed. And it's still sometimes a bit weird to do everything in Zoom and Slack and other video chats, but actually, I think we adapted and we coped with the crisis very well so far. And yeah, it only took us 2 weeks or so to adapt. Actually.
What software are you using? You mentioned Slack, and of course you're using.
Right. Yeah, we were pretty happy that we shifted our communication to Slack a few months before. So we tried different messengers over the years, and it was always pretty simple. So we didn't have a big enterprise communication software or so, but then we tested Microsoft Teams and Slack, and we decided to go with Slack. And that was perfect. So I mean, we didn't know that the crisis was coming, but it was great that we shifted to Slack a few months before. Yeah, it was great. So we already had all the chat rooms. We already had all the different teams set up in Slack, and this is our main software we're using right now. And when we have external meetings with clients, so we use Zoom very often. And when we work together with clients or cooperation partners, or when we do retrospectives or other vision meetings or so, we use other software like Miro or Miro. It's a whiteboard tool, so everybody can work on the same big whiteboard and create documents or little graphics. And it took a while to get familiar with all the functionalities of the software, but as I said, I think after 2 weeks we were good to go.
So what are some lessons that you've learned over the last 90 days that were maybe unexpected, or some big wins that you're taking into the new normal for your company?
Yeah, as I said, I think one of the big wins is that everybody was already familiar with working from home and
Hmm.
the structure. So it, I know this from friends and other people around me who said, "Oh, it's such a big struggle. Everything's so chaotic. So I don't know where my documents are, and the meetings are not really structured, and so everybody was having trouble, and we were pretty calm, and we could just
Right.
go on with our work and concentrate on new services. For example, the first thing we did is we said, okay, there's a crisis going on. We're a media monitoring company, so let's do a press review. Let's do an analysis about what's going on out there. This is what we can do. If we can do also for society. We just send out that stuff, this information for free. So we started with press reviews and an info board about the coronavirus in Germany and also in the USA, and we um, yeah try to help somehow. We didn't want to make profit with it. I mean, of course, it's some kind of marketing if you do that
Yeah,
because you want to
marketing.
get your name out. So it's not a secret, of course. This is why this is one of the benefits you have, but we also try to help somehow, and also because we wanted to know what's going on, because I mean everybody was of course irritated or a bit frightened uh, um, because there's a virus. We all didn't know how big this crisis is going to be, so we did what we can do best, what we do best. So we started to analyze and to do these press reviews, and yeah, we had the time for that, because uh, we weren't facing the problems that other companies had, so we could just use the free time or the extra time to do these virus analysis, and we still do that, and it's time consuming, but I think it's a very helpful product, also not only for as a marketing tool, but also for us. So our colleagues are reading the daily press reviews every day, and we have a look at the info boards to see how the media landscape is developing under this crisis, within this in this crisis, and yeah, I think that we didn't have the problems that other companies had at the
Because you were
beginning.
already set up. You've
Right.
already been there. You already
So
tested and built it.
yeah, it was when the crisis started, we implemented a new form of meeting. We implemented a Zoom meeting with all employees once a week. And of course, especially in the second half of March, everybody was, of course, worried because you saw the numbers rising and everybody was at home, and it was very strange when you went on the streets because the streets were empty on the
Yeah.
usual workday, and uh, of course, you felt a bit isolated or alone because you were sitting at home in front of your computer, and you were doing your work, and you were chatting with your colleagues, and sometimes you had a Zoom meet, a Slack a video chat with one of your colleagues or so, but you felt a bit alone. Then we started these team info meetings with all employees, and it was an info meeting, so to let everyone know how things are developing at press relations. So whether there are problems or whether there are clients who doesn't want to get our products anymore or so. We wanted to inform our colleagues. And one great moment I remember was when uh, one of our managing directors said, "Could everybody please switch on your camera? So let's just switch to the grid view in Zoom and just switch on your camera, because of course a lot of people just switched it off during the meeting and so on." And then you saw 120 people or so, and you really felt like you're not alone anymore. You saw all your
Yeah.
colleagues from Berlin and from Düsseldorf and from Bulgaria and some from Texas, and that was a great moment. And we did this every week. So during the meetings, of course, we uh, a lot of people switched off the camera, but when the informational or the info part was over, we all switched on our cameras, and we just talked for 15 minutes or so, just to find a way to do some small talk and to see other faces, and it's a great feeling. So if you see all your colleagues all over the world, it feels a bit like a family.
Yes, very, very much so. Was the Texas location already open before the February, March timeframe of this year?
Yeah, we opened the Texas office in 2018 already.
Okay.
Um, And yeah.
I asked out of curiosity of how was it to open up a new location in the midst of a crisis, but you guys were
No,
already
no.
open. So, okay, understood. So as we go into close here, are there any final comments, suggestions, learnings that you can share with other executives about agile workforce, a culture structure, or anything that you've learned?
Yeah, I can definitely encourage everyone to invest in agile structures and also to invest in non-violent communication and agile structures for your employees, because this is really helpful. And it's also, for example, our teams, they work autonomously and independently. So even when it comes to adding members to the team, um, it's not that our managing directors or HR is deciding who is going to join the team or who's not getting the job, or so. It's the team itself who does it. And also, when we have a new client, we don't just give it into a team and say, hey, you have to do this now. So we just present the new client, present it to every team in a meeting, and then the teams have to discuss who's going to work on their client, and they shift their um, their clients and their tasks autonomously, and this works really, really good, because everybody feels like um, um, he he has he has some kind of power, and also it is important what they do. So it's not that you're just there to accept orders or so. So
Mm-hmm.
you can create your job and your day on your own, or the team can create the way they work on their own. And this is something that is really encouraging for everyone, I think. And I'm absolutely sure that this is also yeah, the key to a successful business, that you have motivated employees. And I think that the agile structures are absolutely crucial to achieve that.
Yeah, I love them too. It if you're not an agile team and structure now, it does take some time to shift to it, and definitely some training and modification. It's easier to come into a team that is already set up as agile and to be able to be assimilated in, than it is to take a traditional structure and flip it into agility and turning it on its head. And you also talked about Scrum and leaning into that and design thinking and having those pieces that are fundamental as well. So I thank you for your time today. If you would like to know more about anything to do with press relations or Mr. Klaus, I will make sure that I have the information in the notes of the podcast as well as the YouTube channel. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode and this continued series on workplace culture in the time of crisis. Today's the first time we've heard about the more in-depth examples of agility, and I love that. So thank you very much for that. Everybody remember, culture isn't built in a day. Culture is built every single day. Remember to keep it defined and maintained so you don't have to go into that horribly costly, stressful repair mode. That's it. My name is Shelley Smith. Be well and be safe out there.